welcome to another edition of the RotorHub International podcast, and that's presented by me, 𝗂𝗍𝗄𝗯. I'm the editor with RotorHub International. And today, we're out on the road, in fact, in Ostend at the headquarters of NHV, and with me today is Lars-Henrik Thorngreen, who's the CEO of NHV. Lars-Henrik is a boomerang. He was with NHV for a number of years and recently returned as the big dog a few months ago and taking over the helm here at NHV. Lars-Henrik, thanks for spending some time with me today. Much appreciated. Now, hey, these are interesting times here at NHV because there's some interesting stuff happening actually in the last days up north at 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝘁𝗀 with the introduction of SAF flights with the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗀.
Yes, absolutely. But first of all, thank you for taking time to travel all the way to Ostend and meet here at our headquarters here. So thanks for that, Gideon. Yes, the 175, interesting development. We are happy to be in the lead of that. We recently started to operate for Vestas. We're quite proud of the contract with the 175. So also a first there for us to use a super medium helicopter in support of offshore wind. So that's exciting for us also. Now, first HSO operations just been formed this week. But a part of this contract is to use SAF for our flights. So spend quite a long time preparing this, and we will now use SAF on all flights for the customer with the 175.
And that, you know, that program, obviously it doesn't come out of the clear blue sky. I guess you work pretty closely with Airbus and Pratt & Whitney with getting the program ready, because it's quite a high percentage blend, isn't it? It's like 40%, I think I read.
Yeah, it's plus 40 now. So I think the blend is 41.2-ish. So that is the allowed blend that we're using now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, this is not something that we as an operator could decide or design. So that's, of course, thanks to Pratt & Whitney and thanks to the OEM Airbus on the platform allowing this. So that's the whole premises of going away and doing these flights and allowing us to provide this to the customer.
Yeah, and I guess this kind of thing, especially to you as a former test pilot, is all meat and drink. All this getting out on the cutting edge of development. But let's just think about, where do you think this can go? Do you expect more? I guess customers, especially perhaps in the wind energy part of offshore energy support, to introduce these kind of clauses into the contracts they put out?
We expect the entire industry to not only wind to require this. So right now we are limited to a blend, but hopefully over time availability of SAF and also cost of SAF will be attractive to all of our customers. So we can push towards that. Of course, the OEMs needs to get engines and airframes certified to do a higher blend, but we certainly hope that happens in the future. So yes, we think that this is the future we are seeing here. It's just a matter of when we will across the board use it as a normal standard fuel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is that whole thing with SAF, isn't it? It's kind of a chicken and egg situation. Yes. Where you have the retarding factor of price versus Jet A, and the refiners say, yeah, well, if there was demand, the price would come down, and so on and so forth. It just seems to be that driver, and someone's got to make that first leap, and I guess it has to come from those customers putting that in the contract, otherwise,
yes,
and accepting it.
And maybe there's an opening that you can argue in the aviation industry as a whole, we are niche compared to airlines, for example. So maybe that will be leverage for us to implement it in a more rapid way than maybe the airline, because once airline it becomes normal part of airline, then demand is going to be skyrocketing. Yeah. So we hope that we can be leading the whole development and also be a front end of this in the future.
Sure. I mean, I remember a colleague at an engine manufacturer who better remain nameless for the moment. said to me, yeah, look, all you have to do to make SAF work and get the price down is have the U.S. Department of Defense decide they're going to buy SAF, and it's the largest jet fuel buyer, aircraft fuel buyer in the world. It'll make it happen, right? So
I'm sure that's correct. So,
yeah. Whether it'll happen in the current climate, who knows? But anyway, drill, baby, drill. So I mean, but there's an interesting thing, and perhaps a segue to thinking about the other aspects, because I mean, NHV is seen very much as an offshore energy support company. That's the home, isn't it, really, of the operation, especially here we are just on I guess the North Sea. How far away is it? About less than a kilometre from where we sit.
Absolutely.
The North Sea is home plate, and you have the West African operation, I think, as well. So where do you think the bubble looks like expanding? Is that a consolidation of work in the North Sea and maybe even further down the channel as wind expands, or other parts of the world?
Well, the North Sea as such is an interesting bubble, you can argue. First of all, oil price is king when it comes to if it's feasible to develop the North Sea further, but also governmental policies, and especially the UK right now, since our majority of our North Sea operations are in the UK. So from that perspective, we are very focused on UK politics and what happens there. We are not first. Of course, it's the oil and gas, it's the wind operators, it's all these that contract us. So we are sort of second tier, but nevertheless we are impacted almost directly when this changes. So I don't. From a strategic point of view, I think geopolitics is very much influencing what we will do in 10 years. Is it still a lot of oil and gas? Is wind still growing at the speed it is now? So these are of course difficult to predict. However, we are foreseeing that we will see a consolidation of the oil and gas part of it, and we plan to stay. And then maybe carbon storage, and we are definitely looking into that. What's going to happen with the planned carbon storage is that's also probably most likely going to bring work to us. And next is of course the wind industry. Offshore wind is extremely important for us, also strategically, that we consolidate our position in that market.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about the offshore wind element for a moment. I mean, where I guess till now, where helicopters have been used, it's been very much a medium. It's you see things like 145s or 139s being used, but then you guys have come. You're the first to do it. Come with a super medium to support the offshore wind program. What were the drivers there?
I think some of the major operators are rethinking how they best support the offshore wind in the different phases, in the construction phase, in the normal production phase, and so we might see a change of what types from my perspective as an operator, what helicopter types are best suited for the operation. That maybe moves a bit away from the smaller helicopters and looks a bit of the advantages and the flexibility of having a bit larger airframe. But it all depends on how much HSO operations are you doing, what's the distance from shore, from the nearest airport, what is how much crew do you need to move in and out also, and these dynamics.
Yeah.
And how would you only use the helicopter from one, let's call it base to support in the area, or will you have a helicopter that maybe moves around? Like we do with the 175, we are both going to operate out of Denmark and also Germany and also in Poland. So it's going to be a platform that can be moved around as the customer wish. So we do set up bases in all three countries, so we can support the customer demand here. So the customer has a more flexible platform. Of course, price comes with size. So of course, it is important that we stay relevant, that it makes commercial sense for the operator also.
But I guess there's again, when you come into talking about moving the asset around from bases as required as well, then that changes the dynamics in the
Absolutely.
in the euros and cents and
Absolutely.
everything as well. But let's think just expanding away from the local area. I mean, the expansion of wind is extraordinary. There's no question about that, and I think that's a driver, certainly in this part of the world. I know my local wind farm is about to triple in size.
Yes.
Offshore from us. So, and we were talking about it earlier. And if you want to bid from the contract, I know the hangar you can use.
Yeah. We'll discuss after the podcast.
We'll discuss it after the podcast. But one careful owner. Yeah. So, but it's that kind of thing where do you see that as looking at other bases within the pool to support that expansion, maybe growth on the other side of the Irish Sea, for example, or areas like that?
Absolutely, I think we will see it. We will see it not only in where it's planned now, but it would definitely grow also in other places, which again allows us to support the industry with our assets, with what we can do.
Sure. Let's think a little bit about other sectors of operation. Do you foresee a time when NHV will be looking at expanding maybe into HEM support, or going back to your history, where SAR is now something that put out to bid more frequently by governments looking for civil operators of HEM or SAR service?
The answer is yes, and the answer is yes. We are looking into both. Of course, I bring also some knowledge from search and rescue, of course, into the organization. However, it was already ongoing. We are definitely looking into HEMS, and we're definitely looking into SAR. We want to diversify. However, in a smart way, not just diversify with oil and gas requirements, but administering so that we tailor ourselves towards the customer requirements. And I think that's key in our strategy, that we try to understand the customer and we apply the answer to the customer with, of course, with our knowledge, but also adding capabilities. So we have a pedigree of SAR. And we have a pedigree of HEM in both markets, and we are definitely actively looking into that.
And I guess the same kind of thought process could be applied to geographical expansion as well. I mean, obviously, we already have a presence in West Africa. Are you casting an avaricious eye towards, let's say, Brazil?
No, not Brazil as such today. And I think what we are, our focus and our priority is growing with the current footprint we have, and potentially growing into different markets with the footprint we have. So right now we are not actively looking into going to Brazil, for example. There's a bit of a caveat. We are actively looking into going to other parts of the world, but
Brazil is
our strategic position is that we are consolidating where we are, our footprint we have, and we build on that, because that makes also sense for our customers, because if we already have an existing footprint there, we can leverage on that from a pricing perspective and also from a robustness and perspective, so that we have a more robust organization supporting the customer, instead of theoretically putting one helicopter alone somewhere with a crew or something. So from that perspective, our strategy this year and into next year is consolidating where we are and growing where we are, and hopefully also growing into other markets than the markets we are strong in already.
So far, we've talked and we've been zooming in on the happy stuff. Let me play the devil's advocate, the nemesis or whatever, and just think about, as far as work's concerned, what sort of things are keeping you awake at night?
Well, oil price, of course. It's natural. Everyone that's in the market are sensitive to oil price, because it immediately has effect. So you can argue that it doesn't keep me up at night, but it's always there. There's always a number. Huh?
Yeah.
So that is very important for us, especially the North Sea is very sensitive. Historically, has been very sensitive to this. So that is it. apart from that, being fairly new in the job, there's plenty of things that keeps me up at night, but it's mostly what I don't know. So this is really the picture I'm trying to build here. I know the market, and I know the people that's on board here, and I trust them both. So together, we can all, at least all the employees of NHV, we can become the team we are, and hopefully grow. But as a new CEO, relatively new, I'm coming up to 6 months maybe soon. That's of course keeping me up at night, understanding the dynamics, because even though I was here a while ago, it was 6 years not being here. 6 years, everything changes. The fleet is different. People are also different. You can argue the culture is very different. Also, we probably had a more family culture before, whereas a bit more corporate now. So it's finding that balance and also understanding the new dynamics. So you cannot apply the answer that I could 10 years ago now. So
it's a different landscape to operate in.
Absolutely. So.
But I guess there's still those sort of hardy perennial issues. I had a walk around here earlier on, and while the spare stock looks great, as we all know, that's a challenge, constant challenge for any operator is thinking about that continuity of supply. I guess that's a pressing issue.
It always is, and of course, COVID and the times around COVID made it even more problematic. And we're slowly recovering. However, supplies and supply chain and all the issues, also just because of geography, is an issue that you need to manage.
Yeah.
So yes, it's not a worry. It doesn't keep me up at night. I have a wonderful team focusing on this. So no, that's not how it works. But yes, so of course we do have issues with the OEMs and other suppliers that we need to deal with. So finding a balance with the OEMs and other suppliers is quite important for us, and focusing on. It's all cost. So from that perspective, cost is what keeps us keeping cost in check, keeps us in the market, but partially. Of course, there's other things. You need to have the right fleet, but really being cost aware is so important for us, and that's also one of the things that keeps me up at night, to make sure that we keep our cost in check.
Sure, and I guess it's also that thing of you mentioned getting the right airframes at the time you need them, and when the time the customer needs them, and elements like that. But also, I suppose, to an extent, it's about getting the people in the right place and having the source pilots, engineers. They don't grow on trees these days. Obviously, we've talked about the market is cyclic and things can change, but for the moment, that's a driving challenge, isn't it?
Absolutely. We see dynamics, especially in the UK, that it's not easy to find crew, engineers, and all around that's available with the right qualifications.
Yeah.
So it is a different market than it used to be. In EASA, it's a bit different dynamics. However, here it's also difficult to recruit the correct people, correct qualifications, and motivation, because building the culture is so important, and getting the right people on board is so important. So also that is a continuous work to make sure that we recruit the right ones. But you're right, dynamics have changed. 10 years ago it was a different world. 5 years ago it was a different world, and now we are in a different environment.
Sure. I mean that whole, especially obviously in offshore energy support, the whole nightmare of the late teens in the market, and all of that, and the recovery from that, and now the good times are rolling, if you like, and some of those more penal contracts from the energy companies are happily, I guess, increasingly in the past. So, but as we know, things change, and they can change on the turn of a card or the imposition of a tariff. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is of course difficult to predict. You just have to make sure that you have a strategy that can carry you through these movements, geopolitics, tariffs, whatever, so that you are robust enough to carry through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everywhere you go, as we sit here and speak, things are looking pretty spooky again in South Asia, and
absolutely.
These elements come and they go. It's kind of a depressing note to conclude our conversation.
Ish, yes.
But things are good. Yeah. It's a good, the problems, a lot of the problems are high quality ones. As always, we could sit here and talk all afternoon, but you have a company to run, and we have been beaten by the clock. So Lars-Henrik, thank you very much again for spending the time with us today. And it's been great to come around here to Ostend. I've been up to Aberdeen before, and that was exciting, but seeing things here at headquarters has also been refreshing and eye-opening, and very much enjoyed our conversation today.
Well, thank you for taking time to come by and see the yellow headquarters, so to speak.
Center of yellow jackets.
Yes.
Actually grey.
Yeah, yellow helicopters,
yellow
jackets, yellow, everything is yellow here. That's our preferred color.
Yeah. That has been another episode of the Rotorcraft International podcast. Join us again next time when we'll be talking all things vertical lift. Until then, fly straight, fly safe, and keep the blue side up.